everybody. So we're going to be talking about burnout and organizational things to help a new midwife. So burnout's a huge issue in midwifery, and I'm really glad that we're addressing it in this course. I think the nature of our work, and especially the call schedules, can just be very demanding and can really take a toll on our families. When I actually interviewed for one of the jobs that I interviewed for, one of the questions that I was asked was, what is your biggest concern and what do you see being a challenge if you work here? And my reply was burnout. I relayed my concern for burnout very openly and honestly, and let them know that work-life balance is very important for me and that my family is always going to remain my top priority, because no matter where I work, I want them to know that that is something that is important to me, that is a value for me, and I would always choose an appropriate work-life balance over any amount of income. And then their next question was, how do you think we can help combat burnout or combat this issue? And my reply to them was time away and facilitating an appropriate work-life balance. So I think that being able to take an appropriate amount of time to step away from work is important, to come back with a fresh perspective, and also to be able to have an appropriate work-life balance, which can happen in many ways, but probably means having appropriate hours worked, appropriate hours on call, and not having that be heavier than the amount of time you're allowed to spend with your family or to facilitate life elsewhere besides work. And I really think that in order to provide the best care that we can to our patients, it's just essential that we balance our workload with that appropriate time away. And I think that if an organization recognizes the importance of this and intentionally protects its providers from burnout, that's a pretty good sign that they appreciate the heaviness of the profession and really understand that it involves a lot of burnout. So I was pretty pleased that they had asked that question, that they were receptive to that they were hoping to be flexible with hours and hoping to be able to implement things to combat burnout. In addition to time away, though, I think it's also important to practice self-care when you do have time away, in whatever way best serves yourself and in whatever way that may mean for you. I also think that it's important to know your limits, and it's important to know when to ask for help or be able to ask for another provider to step in, know when to tap out, because even though continuity of care and being close with our patients and having that relationship is important, I think it's also important to ensure that we can maintain appropriate sleep, appropriate time away, so that we can give our best care with a clear head, with a rested brain. So I think it's important to know when to step out and to be able to have a backup if you're with a patient for a long time, or in any kind of scenario. You really need to be able to rely on other people to tap out of a situation. And then the tool for organization that I would like to share to help organize the new midwife is a really cool app that I learned about from one of my preceptors, and it's called OB Tracker. It will keep track of all of your patients that are due, so you can tell just at a quick glance how busy you might be that month, or see what patients are due soon, so you kind of know what's upcoming. It has a password, and so it claims to be HIPAA compliant, but as a safeguard, I would recommend only using initials or really no patient information other than due date to keep track. I would use as little as information as you feel comfortable using if you do use this app, and you would never want to put identifying information in it, of course, because I don't actually know if it's HIPAA compliant, even though it claims to be, is very well rated, and is made by, I think it's by an OB provider. With all that being said, though, the app is very convenient, and I actually started using an app similar to this. My preceptor has an iPhone, and unfortunately that exact app that she uses was not available for my Android phone or Samsung phone, and so I found a similar app to use, and I highly recommend it. It's super awesome to just look and be able to see this is who I have coming up for delivery and that sort of thing. So that's a nice little organizational thing that just kind of blew my mind. Love it, and it really helps me stay organized. But while I'm on the topic of apps, I also want to recommend, this is less of an organizational thing, more of a functional practice thing, but I would like to recommend that Pocket Guide to Clinical Midwifery app that was suggested to us a few semesters ago. That pocket guide also comes in a book form, but I love the app. I did have to pay for it. I think it was worth every penny. It's been very helpful to me in clinical, and it is so easy to use, and the easiest way that I have found to look up information quickly in between patients. You can look up information on certain conditions, treatment. It tells you like management of all kinds of things that you encounter every day. So if you don't have it, I would definitely recommend getting that and using it. It is worth paying for, and I think it's just easier than having the book. You can just search, HSV, and then it will present. It'll tell you, how that clinically presents. It will tell you what medical management to use, what pharmacological management to use, and those sorts of things. How to test for it, and that's just a small example. There's a lot of stuff in there like bleeding in pregnancy, things like that. So anyways, those are my recommendations. Thanks for listening, guys.